You cannot live a healthy life without moving often. And we don't just mean exercise. If you want to learn how to move often and why it's important as believers to be in growth, Alex, we're back with another HOLO Health podcast episode, and we're continuing with our series of diving deeper into the 7 habits of health. If you're jumping in on this episode, we encourage you to go back to the last episodes. It's going to talk about sleeping well, eating clean. This week, we're going to talk about habit number 3, Alex, which is move often.
Habit number 3, move often. Trevor, here's what I want the listeners to not hear. I don't want them to hear exercise often, go to the gym often, CrossFit often, Pilates often. That's what I don't want them to hear. This is bigger, broader, and better than that. A truly healthy life is health in every area. It's the way God designed it. Originally, God did not design us to exercise, because when you go back to the garden, God designed us to rule the earth and subdue the earth, to subdue the plants and the vegetation and the animals and the livestock. We had to move our bodies. You cannot do that sitting on a tree stump. So originally, we did not have to exercise. Because of how sedentary our culture has become now, we have to be more intentional about that. And it's no problem having specific goals. If you want to increase muscle mass or run a marathon, like, you're going to try to train for that with an exercise modality. Yeah. But this is not that. This is just talking about our culture is becoming more and more and more sedentary. This is not a cultural commentary on how we've gotten there, but that's just the reality. Everyone's going to agree we just sit primarily most of the day. So how do we incorporate more movement, why it's important, what it is? But this is move often and not exercise often. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's a very important distinction. Movement is what you do throughout the entire day. Exercise is something that you might do for 30, 40, 60, 90 minutes a day.
I've always told people that you can go to the gym and do either a class or a session or hit the weights and still live a sedentary lifestyle.
100%.
Because we like to say what you do for the other 23 hours far outweighs the 1 hour you do in the gym. If you expect to hit all of your quote unquote health goals within the 45 to 60 minutes that you spend in your garage gym or at One Life or a bodybuilding gym or a CrossFit session, I'm just going to say it, Frank, you will not.
Yeah.
You will reach some goals and you will see some progress. But as far as a truly healthy life, looking at the entire pie, there's way more important pieces than just those goals.
I think a really important distinction before we keep kind of snowballing into the episode, that move often, the emphasis of this habit, which this is going to segue super well into what we want to talk about. The purpose and the aim is not to become a physical specimen, or this elite exerciser, or this elite aesthetic individual. That's not the intention of move often. But it could be misconstrued as that. When, culture, again, health in general, they're looking at the physical, they're looking at exercise, and they're looking at diet. When we talk about moving often, we have to clarify, hey, this is not just exercising or manipulating our body just so that we can become something that society looks at up on some sort of level or pedestal.
Yeah. Many people will naturally gravitate towards, this is going to make me look good in the mirror. This is going to give me 6-pack abs, or I'm going to get ripped and jacked. And I'm not casting shade or guilt or any of that. That's good. Like, we want to improve our physical bodies.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a truly healthy life, that's not all that there is. And the only way I have any moral authority to speak into that is because that's my story.
Yeah.
I got into the quote unquote health and fitness world, physical health only, thinking, wow, this is really fun. And if I keep pursuing this, I can look a specific way. And I think that that's going to fulfill me. I'm going to look good, and people are going to remark and be like, oh, Alex, blah, 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 blah. And here's the thing, that happens.
Yeah.
And I have. And truth be told, that's not what I ultimately wanted, which ultimately led me to go down the HOLO Health track, because that wasn't the inner peace, that fulfillment. And ultimately, I was putting the physical goals of how my physique in place of what God was designed to fulfill in my heart, which has ultimately led us to becoming truly healthy and what the message we're trying to spread here at HOLO.
Yeah, I can relate and empathize a lot with that because my pursuit, and a lot of people, the listeners, you probably can relate to this too, the aim or the start of quote unquote health is physical related.
Most of the time,
I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to get right with my nutrition. And honestly, I think that's great because what it does is it leads them to wanting a little bit more.
Yes.
And my aim and our aim at HOLO Health is we want them, as they are searching for more, to stumble on HOLO Health.
Yeah.
To realize that there is more, but there's not just more inside of the realm of physical health. And the reason being is because, very similar to yourself, Alex, I started in the same way, pursuing what I thought was health, but it was really just physical health.
Yeah.
And it ultimately led me to wrestling with the Lord that there has to be more than just what I'm doing in the gym and the foods I put in my body. And so all that to say, there is more than just the physical health, but moving often is a key part. That's why it's one of our 7 habits of health. It's a key part of a truly healthy life, a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy soul.
Right.
And the way we move often impacts every area, not just the body. So I want to talk a little bit, Alex, on the non-physical benefits of moving often.
Oh, wow. The non-physical benefits of moving often. I mean, I think the most obvious ones are stress mitigation, decreasing stress, mental clarity, just the feelings of like that workout high after you finish a run or finish a hard like circuit workout. Those endorphins are going, so you're feeling, but those are more physical. The relational bonds that I have formed over a workout session are unmatched. And I've been the benefit of like always being able to work out in group settings. I would way rather work out in a group than by myself.
Yeah. You keep saying working out. Use an example that's not exercise.
Going on a walk, going to the park with my kids. We have been riding scooters and dirt bikes and things all the time out in the front yard. So yes, my natural default mode is working out, but is just moving. I've been able to help so many people move their house from one house to another house. I mean, all these different like benefits. The thing I like to think about, Trevor, is that my increased strength increases love. And I'm just saying doing dumbbells and curls and all this stuff. I'm saying when I increase my capacity, when I don't get out of breath going up the stairs, or I can go on a mile walk with my kids because they just want to ride their scooters all the time, that I can love them well because I have the capacity to do so. I'm more physically fit and physically strong. Move often is going to get there.
Yeah.
But also, it's the relational bonds. It's the conversations that happen. It's the way I can just go out and be like, God, thank you so much for this moment you've brought me in with my kids going out in the front yard and riding scooters. I mean, so many people would pray for an opportunity like that.
Yeah.
So it is, I would say, the ability to integrate a moving often lifestyle brings so many more benefits. It sets the stage for a lot of other good things to happen. It's why it's a keystone habit.
Yeah.
This small thing has big implications.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. And one of the things we like to clarify is when we're coaching and working with people, when it comes to improving or integrating move often into their life, we're not telling them to, one of the first things we're not telling them to do is to get in the gym for 1 hour, 5-6 times a week.
That's a good point.
One of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to look at what is the activity level inside the day. We're going to look, which the easiest way to measure that is how many steps you get a day.
Right.
Are you sedentary or are you active?
Because that's going to encompass more than just your workout.
Correct. But it could encompass also the workout.
Exactly. It's also including, like we said, it's one slice of the pie. But also, if you go play pickleball with your friends, that is moving often.
Right.
When you go on a walk or park farther away from the grocery store or just gardening in your front yard.
Or you take the stairs down.
Whatever that is.
Whatever it is.
So that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
With the 7 habits of health, Trevor, we like to designate a what, a when, a how, and what's the metric to measure, but then also some tips. Like we've really broken this framework down. The what of moving often is incorporating more physical activities over sedentary ones, like we just said.
Yeah.
But the metric to measure is how many steps we're getting. It's as simple as that. Because if we want to go back into more of the physical health goals related, which honestly is why many people even start their health journey, your step count or your NEAT activity, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, actually is going to boost your metabolism more than just hitting the gym.
Yeah.
Where people think, oh, I want to gain muscle and lose fat. I'm just going to do 3 sets of 10 in 20 minutes and call it good. It's like, well, what does the rest of your 23 and a half hours look like in the day? That's actually going to be more indicative of your metabolism and your goals.
Yeah. And I think it's important to distinct. There's nothing wrong with exercise or having specific goals, but moving often is what happens throughout the entire day. I think that point's hitting home. I think what's important to note from here is the benefits, and this is what I was trying to pull out of you and I want to talk about, is the real benefit from moving often is the ability to love other people and God better, and for people to notice.
Unpack that a little bit.
So earlier this week, I was walking. I was actually cooling down from a workout, and I always try to say hey, because I feel like I probably look ridiculous, especially when I'm breathing heavy, either in a workout or post-workout. And I'm walking, and the neighbor's walking by. He's walking his dog, and I was like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, I'm doing good. And he's like, and I say this, and I really don't want this to come across as pompous or arrogant or anything. He said, you're everybody's hero around here.
No, he didn't.
I said, what?
No, he didn't.
He said, what'd you say? He said, you're everybody's hero. I said, why's that? He's like, because you're always exercising. And then, he did like a bench press type thing. And I said, well, I'm just trying to steward my body well. And that's my default. That's just kind of what I say. But as I was walking away, I obviously think.
What did he say? How did he respond to that? Like because no one says stewarding your body well.
He said, love it, man. I don't think that he caught it as I said it. It's like he's still going. He's walking his Yorkie. Cute little dogs like this big. And so, but I share that, and then my immediate thought was, wow, that's really cool. And I was like, okay, it's not about me. And then I started to dig deeper and think about, this is when we are physically able and consistently moving often, our bodies are going to reflect the consistency of that in some form or fashion, right? Whether that's movement throughout the day, whether it's actively playing sports, whether it's actively exercising, or the accumulation of all those things. People notice. People also notice the mind and the soul, the health of those things. But that takes a little different level of awareness, connection with someone for them to be able to notice. But one of the most immediate things people notice is the way that you steward your body.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I just really thought about that. And I thought about Matthew 5 and how it talks about we're the salt and the light of the earth.
Yeah, the light and the hill.
We're called to let our light shine before others so they may see our good works and may glorify our Father in heaven. And I literally in that moment I said, Lord, let nothing I do. I prayed. I said, let nothing I do be for my glory, but for your good works and for your glory. Or my good works will be for your glory. And I share that to share with the listeners is the response or the invitation that God has for health in general, but really the abundant life, John 10:10, life to the full, is what can I do to steward every area of my health well? What is he inviting me into so that I may bring more recognition and awareness to the gospel and to Christ? And I just think that people miss the opportunity that movement, exercise, being physically capable has and plays into that. And I think it's really easy, and I get caught up in this, maybe we'll do a podcast episode later, of pursuing a physical aim for my own gain when it's not about me. And of course, again, there's a time and a place for small goals. There's totally nothing wrong with wanting to look good in the mirror, but we have to look at the deeper motivation. Am I doing this for the Lord and for other people and to have the capacity to love? Or am I just doing this because I want to be jacked and I want to be the guy in the office or the guy in the neighborhood or in the community?
Trevor, here's the flip side of that coin. What you just said is we can pursue stewarding our body well to give glory to God, be the city on the hill, salt and light of the earth, and say, God, no, you, not me. That is one thing that I think is part of a truly healthy life.
Yeah.
The flip side of that, I think, is not necessarily being so vocal about it. Like, I'm going to post on Instagram and be like, hey, this is only for God. It's like,
this is my biggest tension. I love sharing stuff on Instagram around like exercise, and but I'm like, I don't want that to come across that way.
Because most motivations are a little double-sided. Selfish. Of like,
100%.
hey, Matthew 5, but I'm taking a selfie of my six-pack and my biceps.
This is so funny. We're talking. We literally just finished a workout, probably
30 minutes ago.
Yeah, 45 minutes ago at this point. And I took a picture of the garage and some of the stuff, and I was going to throw it up, and I was like, why am I doing this?
Right.
I don't need to do this.
Right.
And I think there's a time and a place to do that. Again, the motivation, that's a different kind of conversation for myself specifically. But I think that's what you're saying is important. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I think that was well worth saying. I think the other area that people can wrestle with this is not necessarily the vocal verbal messaging, but it's when you steward your body well, you are no longer requiring your unhealth to be picked up by other people's levels of health. Let me explain. I think this is most aware as people age, as our bodies start to break down a little bit. It is so evident that the people who quote unquote take care of themselves live a longer, more durable, more robust life.
Yeah.
The people who don't start to experience symptoms much earlier than the people who steward and take care of themselves better.
Yeah.
And what happens is we are called as believers to help and love one another, not require other people to pick up the slack of our own unhealth, because we're called to be good stewards. So the reason I say that is because if I am careless with my money and I'm just spending a bunch, credit card debt everywhere, and I go to my parents and my friends in my inner circle, I'm like, guys, I'm really short of money. Trevor, can you give me $1,000? Dad, can you give me a couple $100? All this stuff. They are now picking up the slack of my poor stewardship because I don't own the money. I don't own this house. I don't own the studio. According to a biblical worldview, this is all the Lord's, and we are stewarding this body, these resources, this money. Your health is also a stewardship. So if I am not stewarding my body, mind, and soul well, the most evident place that people need to pick that up is most of the time a physical symptom. An easy way to steward your health well is by moving often, because that's going to help you go the further faster, live a little bit more longer, durable, robust life.
Yeah.
So I think we can love people better by stewarding our health well, so that we are taking care of what we need to take care of. So not only not placing the burden on others, but also we have the capacity to love them better and longer. So I think that's another piece.
Yes, we're rounding the barn here, and we're getting back towards the house. The biggest thing we want you to take away is that moving often can incorporate exercise, but does not have to. Simply put, moving often for us, what we believe is incorporating functional movement throughout the entire day. And if we had to put a one-liner on that, what's the measurable? It's the 8,000 steps. It's what does that look like throughout the whole day? It's the big picture, but we can pretty much guarantee that if you're getting 8,000 or more steps a day, there is consistent movement throughout the day, or an active lifestyle per the definition of it. And that's kind of like the bare minimum of moving often. Of course, there's above and beyond.
Right.
Of course, there's a way to take it further. If you got specific goals or trying to basically change your body composition, then it's going to take a little bit more than just 8,000 steps a day in terms of what the context of your goals are. So, but a bare minimum is a truly healthy life moves often, which we would deduce to 8,000 or more steps a day. The reason I share that is because you could go your entire life not exercising and still be truly healthy. I actually believe that. Now, I think there's so much value in exercise. I think it not only from the physical sense, but also the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual side.
Sure.
But it's not mandatory. Again, like you said, God did not design exercise. A lot of this stuff that we talk about and we unpack, science has brought awareness to the strong benefit and value to our lives. And so if God is going to allow someone to provide research and supporting evidence that this brings real benefit to our lives, of course we want to incorporate that into our lives.
Sure.
It's not mandatory.
Sure.
So I wanted to provide that context because I think a lot of people, again, it's like, well, is moving often do I have to exercise an hour a day and
Right.
also get my steps? And it's like, oh, I got 4 kids and I got a job that
Right.
I'm building a business. So that's what I wanted to share.
Well, 2 quick things on that, Trevor. One, we say 8,000, not 10,000. 10,000 actually came from a pedometer, which is the old little things that you put in your belt clip that measured your steps before you had Fitbits and everything. From a marketing campaign years and years ago, that was just actually, it just sounded good. Science has actually shown that around 7 to 8 consistently gets the same results as around 10 if you go from basically nothing to that. So baseline, a little bit more sustainable is 8, 10, 12 is sufficient, ideal, amazing, but most people get 4,000 to 5,000, and under 5,000 steps a day is clinically sedentary. So even just the extra 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day is going to revolutionize your health. The second thing is, I agree, moving often is the foundation. Exercise is the application. It's the thing that you can almost, it's like the 2.0 class if you want to take it a step further. I would rather move often more than exercise and be sedentary. But the thing is, though, as we age, I would almost put a caveat in there that there needs to be some sort of like resistance training application because our bone density and our muscle mass does decrease a little bit with age.
For those who don't know what resistance training is, unpack.
It's essentially just loading your bones and your muscles and your joints with overload, whether it could be gardening or doing work in the back. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a gym. The most common ways in a gym, dumbbells, barbells, just to maintain strength because muscle mass is super important. But if you are consistently moving, God designed in the garden for us to literally do manual labor. A lot of people don't need to do that. They have just more muscle mass because they're moving functionally the way our bodies were designed to move. But for, I would say, 95% of people, it's going to look like being more active and doing some sort of resistance training. Is a little caveat on that, just because our culture is so sedentary. We sit at home, we sit in the car, we sit at work, we sit at the ballpark, we sit at whatever. So we just need to make sure that we're being intentional about that. But that's it.
Yeah. The how is more on what can you incorporate more in the day.
Yeah.
If you have no idea where your step count is, our first encouragement would be to track that. Use your phone, carry your phone with you, get a Fitbit. If you really don't want to do any of that, then the aim would be go on at least one 30-minute walk throughout the day, and you can break that up, at least 30 minutes cumulative of walking, maybe even closer to 40, to get approximately 8,000 steps a day based on what normal individuals will get outside of that.
Sure.
Again, that's a very generic statement, but I would really encourage you to take a look at your step count and then start to incrementally change that. For example, if I'm at 5,000, I don't want you to jump to 8,000 immediately because that's probably not sustainable for you, but you could go on a 5 to 10 minute walk as soon as you get home or right when you wake up and go pray, just in between work, during lunch, etc. So there's different ways to incorporate some of that. When it comes to exercise, if you want to exercise and you're not consistently doing that, again, I think that an easy way to start is to reduce the time, reduce the friction, and make it really easy on yourself. Lay your clothes out the night before, do it in the morning, do a body weight down in the garage, pack your gym bag beforehand, know what you're going to do before you go into the gym. We're going to link some workouts below in the show notes that you can click, free workouts, resources that just have a plethora that you can have. Save it, favorite it if you go on the road. But it doesn't have to be complex, but we make it really complex.
Yeah.
But do not fall into the trap of getting just exercising and forgetting about the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That is what you will fall into if you're not aware of the invitation that we're supposed to move often throughout the whole day. We're not just supposed to exercise. If you just exercise, it's great, but there's more outside of the gym than just exercise. And if we want to really live a truly healthy life, then we've got to incorporate more of this movement throughout the day. Again, not just so that we can improve how we look or reach goals in a better way, but really to love God and other people better, to steward what we've been given really well.
True health is intentional. You have to be intentional. That's why I harp on less about like, hey, take the stairs or park farther away in the parking lot to get your steps in. It's more, if it is top of mind, it is simple and you can do it. Mm-hmm. It has to be intentional. It has to be a forefront mind a mind thought. That's a new one for you. It's got to be top of mind, because if it's not, our culture primes us to sit. We will sit everywhere. But if we are thinking about, oh, hey, I have a choice. I can either sit or I can stand. I can take a walk or I can take a break. Like, it has to be intentional. Trevor, I would end with this right here is, I want to preface this that I'm saying this in love, but I'm saying this in truth. That if you want to be healthy in every single area, you cannot become truly healthy if you are not consistently moving often. Here's why. God designed us to move often. If I design this table right here, but one of the legs is faulty and doesn't work just because it's not tended to, then this table is going to topple over. That in order for us, and I write about this, we talk about this, Trevor, to both experience and glorify God to the fullest capabilities, we need to align every area to Him. Most of the time, when we pursue Jesus, it's spiritual and it's more mental. Yes, we will relational and corporate worship and at church and small groups and confession and small whatever. But the body is the one that's neglected the most from the health space. But there is something when you are going on a walk unplugged and you look up and you look at the trees and you see the skies and you see the birds, or you're walking along the ocean, you hear the waves and you just breathe. You're almost able to recognize, experience the Holy Spirit through the deep breaths of your lungs, or through the feet walking on the sand, or just the running in on a trail. When you really align and think about and sync your body with what's going around, it almost opens up a new dimension in experiencing God in a whole new way. God designed us that way. We are an embodied faith. And I truly believe if we want to experience this life that Jesus has in the kingdom of heaven here, we need to not only submit our wills and our minds and our souls, but also our bodies. And moving often is just one way we can do that.
Yeah. We have an embodied faith. We're called to live that out. Look at the life of Jesus, the way that He did that, and the way that we're invited to follow in His footsteps and learn from Him. If you want to learn more about moving often, we would encourage you to check out the show notes. Again, we've got this workouts, we've got some resources in there, as well as a link to the collective where we're helping Christians build a healthy body, mind, and soul. We hope you enjoyed habit number 3, move often, and we'll see you in the next episode.
You're a legend.